canola oil in our product instead of instead of olive oil.
Right.
So, anyways,
I love the optimism, Tom. You're right.
well,
No, it's true though. You're
Yeah.
right. And the other thing that I really enjoy is what's right for you or me or us isn't always right for everybody. And so I love that there's again so much scientific data where like you were touching on, it's not about just calories out, calories in. It's like what is best for you. And as an example of this, I'll bring up I was always around very healthy people like Ashley and Dana. They measure their food, they're this, I eat 6 times a day, I had the perfect macros and matching and RPM, and I would just be overwhelmed. I'm like, I don't know, I don't want to spend my entire Sunday meal prepping. I don't know how you guys think about this stuff. I cannot eat this many times a day. Even though they're small meals, it just seemed like an inconvenience to me. And it just couldn't, I just couldn't work for me, and it just didn't make sense for me. But then when I found the intermittent fasting, I was like, oh shit, I can do this. I can just eat 1 or 2 meals a day. I don't have to snack. I don't have to eat late. I don't need to squeeze into breakfast. And this actually works for me mentally, but also physically. And that's where I've seen the biggest gains, is because it actually aligns with what feels natural for me, but it's also very beneficial, like we talked about, as far as the inflammation, and keto's big with that as well. When you start to realize that a lot of this stuff that again we think is healthy is causing a lot of that inflammation or our blood sugar to go up throughout the day numerous times. But that's what works for me and you. Tots has a whole different plan because his body and his goals are totally different.
Right.
And that's what's working for you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so tell us about that, because I know just over the last few years I've watched you go through vegan, which I was like, that's so weird. You're just opening up a can of beans and eating it for lunch.
Right.
And so you've gone through some transitions too, but you as well have gotten very healthy, but trying different things.
Right. I wish I could word it better. Sometimes I'm not very articulate. I've heard other people word it, very articulately. But I just, everyone's so different, as far as how they're built, physically, structurally, biologically, all that sort of stuff. And everyone has different goals. So I still, I'm always like, I feel like I'm always on a journey.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I was, I guess, talking about earlier, like I'm not a master or an expert or, anything like that. It's always like a journey and a journey up, hopefully. But I'm still trying to find out like what works for me. Right. Like what, what diet is the most natural for me. What my body does best on, also, also in consideration with goals, because everyone has different goals. Currently, I don't think my goals are very healthy, but it's not the healthiest because there's an element of competitiveness with CrossFit and everything, mixed into my goals.
Yep.
I guess that's healthy in other ways, not just physically. Right now I want to gain weight, I want to lift heavier, I want to keep up with the big boys, I'm just eating a ton of calories, like 3,400 on average, for 40, 30, 30 macros, and just stuffing myself. But actually with increasing my calories, and the amount of energy I'm expending throughout the day, like because I work out multiple times a day, and I also use my brain a lot, which I think burns a certain amount of calories.
Sure.
I feel a lot better.
Yeah.
With a surplus of calories. I think I was in a calorie deficit for so long, which I was lean, like I had a 6-pack and everything like that, but I didn't, that didn't, I didn't feel as great,
Yeah.
A 6-pack, they don't do anything, You know, they're kind of like
they look good.
they're kind of for show.
They look
do
good.
anything. I love
Right,
it.
right, and yeah, and I also go through that. Like, what are my goals? Is it vanity?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That for me right now that takes a back seat.
Yeah.
You know, as compared to, I would say, there's always a hierarchy, right? There's like a hierarchy of values. There's a hierarchy of goals, right? Like, what's most important? I think what's most important for me right now, and I'm sure it'll change throughout the years, is like competition is at the top. You know, I just want to, you know, beat some of these people. You know,
That's
I
awesome.
want that. You know,
Yeah.
that's number one, and then I don't know, and then health, and then, you know, vanity, I guess, takes a third or fourth seat. You know, maybe lower. You know, I'd like to think it's lower on this hierarchy.
That has actually moved to number one for me.
Really?
But it used to be performance, and because
Yeah.
I was a big CrossFitter, and it was competition, and it's like, well, you got to have weight to move weight. You know, there was all that, which made me feel good about myself. But in the recent years, and I'm kidding, I really don't think it's vanity. It's just been a wonderful side effect of the discipline. Health for me, I think, is number one, especially at my age. I can't tell you how many people I'm around who are like, oh, you know, my back, well, that's my age. And I'm thinking, you're 10 years younger than me. Why is that okay? Why is that,
Right.
why are we accepting that my body
Right.
hurts at this age when you're going to live another 60 plus years? Like, really? Like, and so it's interesting to me that a lot of people just accept these things and allow these, they're just excuses, let's be honest. It's an excuse, and it's also a certain training of society that you're going to feel this way at this point in time, and that's perfectly okay, and you don't have to do the work anymore, you know. Settle in, get old, you know, this is what it is. And so for me, I'm fighting that stigma of, okay, I have a massive heart situation, and I have age, and I'm very competitive like TOTS, so I'm going to keep leveling myself up. So, and Tom, you're competitive too. And keep pushing myself harder and harder to break all those molds that a lot of society is trying to put us into.
Right.
And I will say for Tom, like what I've seen with you is you've gone back and forth on that too. Like you put in keto and intermittent fasting and you shed all that weight, and then you're like, whoa, that was almost too much. And then you had to like stop that clock and start reversing it. And I just got to say, I'm jealous of both of you that you guys can stop and start and get such immediate results. Mine is a much longer runway on both those things.
Yeah,
Maybe externally it seems like that, right? Because when you live with yourself, you're like, you know, you're I'm stepping on the scale every single day, and I'm looking in the mirror every single day, or, you know, working out every single day, and, you know, as opposed to, you know, externally you check in on someone, you know, like, I don't know how often, you know, not as much as you check in on yourself.
Yeah.
That's probably true.
Right.
I mean, that's absolutely true.
Yeah. I was just thinking about TOTS, how you broke down kind of, like the hierarchy of what you value as it relates to this subject of, you know, overall health and fitness. And, you know, it's tough for me to rank mine, but definitely, you know, vanity comes in there. I want to look good, you know, because that definitely helps me have confidence and just be satisfied with being in my own skin. You know, like there's a certain level of satisfaction. But you know, a lot of what I've been focused on lately is, you know, okay, what can I start to introduce back into my diet? You know, that's not going to cause me to have asthma, and that's where I've been at in the last like month or so, and trying to like slowly figure that out. And so, you know, doing a blood test and a gut biome test to kind of see if I can get a better idea of what foods are inflammatory to me, you know, where I come from, like us, you know, it's my ancestors, and, you know, my gut biome. And there was a cool test, I'm not going to say the name, but a cool test that I was turned on to somehow, like late night, just looking at, you know, different
Targeted ads towards you on Instagram.
I got targeted really good because I bought it, you know, and so you know, I think that's super important. And I like you were talking about when I lost, I lost a ton of weight. I was very strict with intermittent fasting and keto, and I just seemed to keep losing weight. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I do not want to lose any more weight. You know, I started my journey at around, it was like 215, and I got all the way down to 184, and I was, you know, I was pretty ripped, but I felt a little empty, I'd have to say, you know, like, and that kind of, the fasting, and there was information coming out, or that I was exposed to, about, you know, just switching it up, you know, not fasting the same every day. And that's what I did in the beginning. I was very strict with my window, and I didn't have a snack between. And so what I started to do was become a little less strict with my window, and then allow myself to have a snack between meals if I felt like I wanted to. And then I ended up putting on 10 more pounds, and I've stayed at this weight, you know, very consistently. So now I'm about 195, I'm 6'2", and I feel a lot more not comfortable, like not empty, like satisfied, happy. You know? And I think that is, you know, people talk about this all the time, and I feel like I'm repeating what I've heard other people say, but I truly feel for myself, yeah, like being happy, clear-headed, feeling stable. Like, what can I do? What can I eat? What can I tweak to have that?
That's your goal.
I feel like
that's the highest on your hierarchy.
I think it is. I really think it is. I had to kind of talk it
Right,
out to
right.
find out what it was.
Right.
But you know, I really do. I care about my performance in CrossFit for sure. I love that competitive aspect of things. You know, but there's also this, like, me being a little realistic with myself in regards to, like, yeah, you know, like, you're a good athlete, but have you been that good though, like, throughout your whole life? And you know, I can do some stuff good, you know, as far as some movements and lifts and things like that. But as far as, like, being the best well-rounded athlete, I think that's what everyone's trying to achieve, you know, and you know, definitely care about the competitive side. But like I was saying the other day, like, swimming, I got to get more into swimming.
Yeah.
You know, that is a whole you know, side of fitness that I really want to start focusing on, and I think that would yield some good results as far as the breathing techniques involved in being in the water.
Right.
And I was, you know, I'm so happy, TOTS, that you turned me on to that book called Breathe by James Nestor.
Yes.
That and
breath.
Breath.
Right? Is there an E at the end? I'm not sure. I think it's
just
breath.
breath.
Breathe was
Gracie.
Royce Gracie.
Yeah.
Well, James Nestor's book.
Yes,
and
yes.
because that whole, and I watched a few podcasts with him, and boom, immediately convinced. I'm taping my mouth shut every night. Like, I didn't need a whole lot. I mean, I had woken up so many times with just that dry mouth or a sore throat, and you know, and me being you know, an asthmatic for my whole life, the breathing is such a cool subject. Like, how can I learn how to breathe better? You know, like, what things can I do to become a better breather? You know,
Right.
And
Something we take for granted. Like,
So
why would you have to
simple.
learn how to breathe? It comes naturally, duh.
so simple, but so powerful.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm feeling a little edgy, I can easily reverse that by just taking a few, like, deeper breaths.
Right.
And a lot of the time we don't even notice, but we slowly start to shallow our breath, and that usually results in some sort of kind of like a little bit of a panic type state, you know, that sympathetic nervous system response, and it could be completely self-induced to the way we just a poor pattern of breathing that we set ourselves down. Could be some environmental factor that caused our breathing to shallow, but nothing that is should be, you know, fight or flight type response. You
Right.
know? but our breathing changes for some reason.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Breathing is life. You know, you don't breathe, you're not alive.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the what is it? Breathing is straddles. I don't know if that's the right word. You know, between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, right? It's one aspect that you could control.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's just I do think that's also, well, you brought it up in the swimming context. I think it's very relevant to fitness, right? Cardiovascular fitness, because like you need that intense breathing at least once a day, I think, right? Like that intense cardiovascular, breathing where it's like, like you're trying to catch your breath, you're fighting for your breath,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think that helps, for the rest of the day, right? And
Yeah.
right, I think he even talked about how half the benefit of exercise, like cardiovascular exercise, is breathing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's interesting because what I always associated that with is, and we do this as part of the program, it's become part of my daily routine, is mindfulness. Find your breath.
Right, yes.
Find your breath.
Right.
And so I was always looking at it in like and I want to say it's the opposite, but maybe the other end of the spectrum where it's putting you into an even more relaxed state, even more oxygen to your brain, putting you into that mindful state. So it's interesting to look at it, how beneficial it is on both ends of the spectrum, but they both have massive benefits.
Right. Yeah, because every mental emotional state has its own pattern of breathing.
Yeah.
There's anxiety breathing and there's depressed breathing, where you're like breathing very slow and
Huge sighs,
Big
more
sigh.
exhale than inhale.
Yeah, happy breathing. So I think you could tap into your emotions,
Mm-hmm.
right,
Yeah.
through breath.
Or influence
Right.
an emotion to come about with changing.
Right. And I
Yeah.
think that's huge. All this is huge for recovery and sobriety and doing well.
Oh
in
yeah.
recovery,
I mean, it's helped me learn how to meditate because we always had Joe sort of teach us in the early days. And it was like, when your mind starts wandering, find your breath. It's like, oh, okay.
Right.
Oh yeah, there's my breath. It's just an easy anchoring over and over that can really help cement you into the present as well.
Right.
I have to say though, when you guys started telling me about taping your mouths, I thought you guys were freaking crazy. I'm like, how are you not claustrophobic? How is this a thing? I don't understand. I did end up listening to the whole podcast. I did end up listening to the entire book. It actually made a lot of sense when you look at history, and I encourage everybody to do some research because it's just fascinating how our schools have changed, and again, feeding into us not being healthy, just how we've adapted to all the comforts in life.
Mm-hmm.
But even just last night, so I'm at the end of 75 hard. We've had our quarterly, like, trying to get in both workouts. I'm kind of like running on fumes at this point. I'm so tired. I was out doing my second workout at 11 o'clock at night, walking, in the neighborhood, which actually I enjoyed. But then we had this podcast this morning, and I've been forgetting to do the mouth tape. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to do that tonight, even though I'm super tired and I have chapstick on, whatever, I'm just going to do it. And I put it on, and sure enough, this morning, and I gauge how I feel on all these devices that I wear.
Mm-hmm.
Not on actually how I feel. It's just tell me how I feel, which is not always good.
Mm-hmm.
But I woke up this morning, 5 hours of sleep at the end of this, and I'm completely in the green on the Whoop, which means I had amazing recovery, which is so funny because I'm like operating at 5 hours of sleep, and it's telling me my optimum sleep should be between 8 and 9.
Mm-hmm.
But because of that one action, I'm getting better recovery in a shorter amount of time, which I find amazing considering where I'm at on the journey of fitness at this point at the end of 75 hard.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like such an amazing hack.
Right.
It is.
Yeah, you just tape your mouth shut at night. And it made me realize I am a mouth breather, man. I am a terrible mouth breather. I need to shut that thing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think we need to incorporate. I think what's cool about our program is it's constantly evolving,
Mm-hmm.
and there's room for growth. I think that's really neat.
Yeah.
And it'll be neat to get some of these things, some more elements into our program that could help the clients through their recovery.
Yeah, they're definitely such cool things. They do seem, taping your mouth shut seems crazy
It
at
does.
first, but it's just a tiny little piece of tape. Like he describes, James Nestor describes in the book, it's like a Hitler mustache moved down an inch over your mouth, and that's all you need, and and you don't need to get some fancy. Tape. You just get some.
I got the
surgical-
fancy tape.
you just-
I had to get the fancy tape because who might see me sleeping at night?
Yeah, just some regular surgical tape, and you just have a little tiny square, about an inch long, and there's been nights where it's fallen off, or there's been I'm pretty disciplined. There's been a few nights where I forgot, but I've been doing this consistently for about 90 days now, I feel as though, and it's definitely made a difference in my energy that I have in the
Yes.
morning. I feel, and how I know that is because of the nights that I forgot. Like if I forget, I might feel more groggy when I wake up, a little slower cognitively, and I think a lot of that has to do with the amount of oxygen that is in your blood system and what your brain is waking up with from that long duration of rest. And so, and you mentioned the Whoop. I really love my Whoop as well. And
Are we sponsored by them?
no,
We should be.
I would love to be sponsored by them, but
You'd have to start wearing one.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
it's been a great tool for me, and it's definitely, it plays a role in my health journey, and it's also had its cons though.
Yes.
For me, where I'll be, it could set me down kind of a negative thought kind of spiral. It's like I wake up and I feel good, and then I get my notification on my phone that my recovery score has been calculated or whatever, and then it's like you're 48% recovered.
Yeah, you don't actually feel good right now.
Yeah, and it's like and that can have an effect.
For sure.
But also, it has the opposite, where it's like I wake up and I'm like, I don't know if it feels so great, and boom, I get that, you're 85% recovered, and that gives me, a little bit of confidence, like today's going to be a good day, like I could tackle more today. My nervous system is more ready to take on the day, and so that heart rate variability metric is so cool. It's such a cool thing. And I think a lot of, for me, my body's been recovering pretty quickly from the workouts that I do. I definitely feel as though with my low inflammation diet that my body is handling, it's processing the damage really well. But there's also the stress level that has a big that's a big factor on HRV, and so if I notice that my HRV's down, it's been a good reminder to like check in with my breathing, or start to like maybe I need to do I really need to get some meditation back in for a little while, not just 10-15 minute ones. Like I want to sit for 45 minutes and meditate and really, really try to tap into that parasympathetic response and stay there for a long period of time, which can be really beneficial. And so, yeah, just talking about the Whoop for a second, just because I think it's a cool tool, and if for anyone that's listening, it can be a worthwhile investment. In my opinion.
Maybe I'll try it. I don't know. Maybe I'll try it for a few months.
You should totally try it. I mean, as much as you're nerding out on your calories and your performance, it really does help you
Right.
sort of fine tune. Oh, that was really good for me. That was probably not
Right.
the best decision. I'm taxing myself, and I have to agree with Tom. Like this morning, I was like, 5 hours of sleep, 11 o'clock workout. I feel tired this morning, and it's like, you're in the green. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Well, I got this, man.
I'm just very wary of technology.
Yeah.
You know, like
I get it.
what's going to be beneficial versus not. You know, like
I think the pros outweigh the cons on
net
this one.
positive. Right,
Yeah.
right.
Especially in workouts, and you can see like how different workouts hit you in different ways.
Right.
It's another just fun tool to sort of diagnose. And
It's not like
assess.
downloading Instagram.
No, it's it's
Not yet, but who knows? They could
Right.
turn on us in any moment.
Right.
you know, the one thing that something that I came across that made me think that the Whoop might actually be working against me in one way is the fact that there is a light going into your skin at all times. And so they've done studies, I believe, I'm not sure where these studies were done, but I believe it was Stanford, regarding, you know, sleep and the environment of sleep.
Blue light and
With light,
Right.
or, you know, light coming into the room, or even a flashlight under the covers of somebody, like on their skin.
oh wow.
And you know, not in someone's vision, like
Right.
they
Not
couldn't
even
see
in their eye.
the light,
Right.
but their skin, you know, the light was penetrating the skin.
Sure.
And that in itself affected somebody's sleep. So you know, there's a lot of talk about how sleep, you know, optimizing sleep really trumps every health thing. You know?
Sure.
So whatever you can do to get yourself in, you know, REM sleep, deep sleep longer, and stay in those things, or maximize. You know, I know Angie and I were talking about this the other day. The 5 hours. However, it's only 5 hours, but when you look at your Whoop, a lot of that is in REM and deep sleep, and you're getting a sufficient amount of, you know,
Yeah.
you know, those,
Like over 2 hours. So it's almost 50% of that is in a deep sleep.
yeah.
Which,
So,
if I'm sleeping 8, there is no way 4 of that is in REM or deep sleep.
yeah, so just saying, yeah, there is a light going into the skin with the Whoop, and so that might have a little effect on sleep. But that's the only bad thing.
Yeah,
that
but
I've
I
come
would
across
say
as far
that's
as health.
assuming everything else was perfect, perfectly black, perfectly quiet, perfectly.
Right.
Do any of us have that perfect sleeping environment? I mean, I know I don't.
Right.
Well,
Wow.
I think the next. I got you guys the book. I think you guys have to read it as your next thing.
Oh.
The Hunter Gatherers.
I tried. There's going to be a lot of
21st
words
century,
there. It's not part of my 10 pages.
Heather
of it.
Hying and Brett Weinstein, they're evolutionary biologists, and basically the premise is that, you know, they talk a lot about hypernovelty, and the premise is that we spent the majority, you know, the Homo sapiens have spent still the vast majority of our time on Earth as hunter gatherers, right? And you know, all this technology is just like is a blip in our histories, you know, in our history as evolutionary history. You know, there was like even the going back to agricultural revolution, you know, industrial revolution. Those things are relatively modern, right? So their theory is that, you know, we're not caught up in evolution to this, you know, technology. That technology is advancing way faster than we could evolve and keep up with, and that is mainly what's breeding all our, you know, social illnesses, mental illnesses, you know, physical illnesses, everything like that. So, you know, so they're
Such a cool concept.
it is, and that's
true.
right, and that's what, you know, it all goes back to, right, like all this paleo diet, you know, caveman diet, you know, like, you know, natural lifestyle, you know, paleo lifestyle, you know,
Right.
and they even, you know, they talk about things like fire, the benefits of campfire,
Yeah.
you know, and what they say if you camp for a week, it completely resets your circadian rhythm.
Wow.
You know, because you're more or less in harmony with nature, right? You're waking up. You know, you start waking up with the sunlight.
Yep.
You know, and then you go to sleep with the campfire, and I guess
That
the
lighting.
Right, campfire lighting. Firelight is way different than incandescent or halogen or LED, and it does not. It doesn't have that negative effect, and you know, it's very therapeutic. But
right.
you know, it's funny because, you know, we used to live a certain way, right? You know, way like pre-science.
Yeah.
And then science is, you know, science, research, technology that's coming in and going like, oh, well, we've proven that, you know, campfires are actually good, you know, like research has shown,
research
you know,
has shown
and research has shown that,
go backwards.
you know, eating meat is fine, you know, research has shown that you could eat berries off a bush. That's very healthy.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, what? Really? Well, people were already doing this, you know, you guys, you know, I don't know, someone came in and messed all this up and, you know, in the name of convenience.
Yeah.
Right? Like they came in and said, okay, canned food and, you know, microwaves and televisions and couches and, you know, this and that. And now we're going back and saying like, you should actually sleep, you know, on the dirt.
Yeah.
You know, that's healthy.
Not even on the ground. Not even on the dirt.
Right, right. You should, you know, you should look at the stars. That's healthy, you know. And, but anyway, the book goes into it like very in depth about, you know.
Well, thank you very much for sending me the book.
Yeah,
that was a really nice thing you did, and I'm going to read it. And but I was also, you know, what got me kind of thinking along those lines, what I've been exposed to so far was this guy called the Liver King.
Yeah, that's right.
Know? Yeah. And one of the things that he does that's I think makes a lot of sense is he simulates a hunt.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
He simulates a hunt before he eats, so he earns his meals, because that's what we used to do.
Right.
You know, we used to have to work for these meals.
Right, and fasting is like you go hungry.
Yeah, you go hungry. Exactly. You because you don't always have food.
Right.
You don't always have a pantry.
Right.
And so I guess I thought about a lot of things on my drive to Santa Cruz, but one of the things. I thought about the Liver King simulating the hunt, and I was looking at this. So I was in the same situation. I was in Starbucks, and not too long after I had the thought where I was people were ordering the extra syrup and stuff. There's two drive-through lines. Then there was the drive-through line of In-N-Out, which I could see, and it was long, and I was like, wow, that's what the hunt has turned into.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, which is all these people sitting in their comfortable cars
with air conditioning,
and you know, listening to music, texting, looking at Instagram, doing whatever, and they just move their car, and that's all they do. They don't even need to get out. So
that's the thing. No wonder why we're messed up. You know, like physically.
We don't have to work for our food. We don't have to earn our food, and there's so much that comes with. Even simulating that mindset, you know, like I'm gonna work for this meal. You know, I'm gonna do something. You know, I'm gonna exert energy before I eat. You know, it's very cool along those lines of what it seems like you're talking about.
Right.
Sure.
Exactly.